Come out of your tribal cocoons and embrace the wider Kenya and the wider East Africa. We therefore hail the Building Bridges initiative because it portends well for the future of Kenya. A united, cohesive, peaceful, stable, and a prosperous Kenya. For this, Mr. President, Deputy President, and Raila Odinga, President John Pombe Magufuli, there was the three of you. You are holding Kenya and allow Kenya to rise up, to go up, to prosper. He phoned me yesterday, and he phoned you, Odinga. He phoned you. Please, keep what the President Magufuli, your brother, told you. Kenya is more important than you. To the President, I can't say more. I can't say more. You are a Tanzanian. So keep the respect of Tanzania in Kenya. William Ruto, God, who has called you to the post of Deputy President, has given you the highest honor to save the Kenyans. Save them well. Kenyans, learn to respect each other. Learn to tolerate each other. Learn to know there's no one who knows everything, and there's no one who is completely stupid.
Kenyans, learn to tolerate each other. There's no one who knows everything, and there is no one who is completely stupid. And that was an eye-opener for a lot of people who watched the unveiling of the BBI report at the Bomas of Kenya by President Uhuru Kenyatta. That happened today. Several delegates making their way to the Bomas of Kenya, several leaders calling and just amplifying that notion that perhaps we need to be a more united nation, and different leaders trying to give their opinion on that report that was officially now launched to the public by President Uhuru Kenyatta in the presence of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. However, it was the heckling of Senate Majority Leader Kipchumba Murkomen that took center stage at some point in the unveiling of that report, and their varied opinion on whether or not that was right, and that happening at a point where a report was being released that is meant to be inclusive, make sure we all feel like we belong. So could we take a look at that particular moment, and then we'll speak to Kipchumba Murkomen, who's the leader of majority in the Senate, in a couple of minutes.
We must have a honest discussion here. Even the way, Junaid, you are running the program, we must make it a honest discussion. Your Excellency, it will be a lie for me to leave this stage without saying that this program has been skewed to leave other people who have different opinions to speak what they want to say. And so, whether Junaid, I must say it, and so, Your Excellency, we must say it as it is. Just hold on, relax. If we are going to build a honest Kenya going forward, Your Excellency, we must be able to put our views on the ground. It starts, Your Excellency, with who mobilized the people who came to this podium. Because if this podium is going to be used to lecture other people and give other people views, we must, Your Excellency, come out and speak our voices. And so there is no way I will be told, as a leader in this country, I will be expected to sanitize politics in this nation, and our voices are not going to be heard when we speak here. Just hold on.
And this is the point where we get to speak to Kipchumba Murkomen, who's the leader of majority in the Senate. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us, for speaking to us on the big story this evening. We've just seen a clip of you being heckled today at the Bomas of Kenya, and you're trying to raise a concern about the fact that you thought the way the program was designed was specifically meant to lock out a couple of people. What gave you the impression that there were people who were being locked out?
Thank you very much, Linda, for inviting me to this show. And indeed, it was apparent, it was rather obvious. First of all, it starts with, that was a national function with the president, the deputy president, former prime minister, and many dignitaries, and many Kenyans watching across the country. Unfortunately, to start with, a person who does not have the capacity and the ability to preside that function as an MC was chosen without an explanation to anybody in this country, and an opportunity was granted to my friend Junaid Mohammed, and instead of taking advantage of that opportunity to rise above parochial politics and run the program as a national program, he converted it to be a partisan ODM Kieleweke kind of a conversation. And you saw the list of the people that were invited were all of them in the group that is has been known for a while now, that is called Kieleweke. The only person whom you can say spoke at that podium who is not part and parcel of that team was myself, Governor Kiraitu, and Honorable Duale. The rest of the people were picked without any regard. If you see the ladies who were asked to come and speak, it was Wanga, it was Sabina Chege, it was Anne Waiguru. If you looked at the people who were told to talk, you found someone like Atuoli, the likes of Joho. So the more you are known for attacking the deputy president and being part of the Kieleweke, that kind of a group, you stood a chance to be part of that program at the expense of a national function. And so when I came to the stage, I felt like because other people were being denied that opportunity, obviously, and many people across the country, and I had access to my social media and my phone, and everybody was sending a message and wondering, are we in a partisan political forum or a national function dealing with cohesion? Linda, I was already in public, and I've been in public from yesterday, that this is a fantastic document. It reflects what I thought it should reflect. It captures the aspirations of many Kenyans, the problems that Kenyans are facing. And so I was going there just to celebrate. There was absolutely no other reason than to be part and parcel of the team that is going to celebrate that very important occasion. So I am not trying to voice something that is new. I am actually just trying to say something that was rather obvious. And even before I started speaking, it looks like the people who had been mobilized to be part of and parcel of that team, no sooner did I make my first sentence than they started heckling. And what an embarrassment that the people who were heckling me were people like Shebesh, people like Wanga, people like Babu Owino. When I look at it, actually, including Mishi Mbogo and my friend, the Women Rev of Kisumu, I see all this Kieleweke group trying to heckle me. I just laugh, because when I came and looked at the videos later, I'm asking myself, are we really honest that in a function that we are discussing about national unity, about unemployment and poverty in the country, that we can reduce it to a function of attacking people? And what even made things worse is that the MC of the day used the privilege of his opportunity granted to him, and I don't know by who, and I don't know using what criteria, to try and throw partisan jibes. For example, as I was walking to the stage, he said, oh, just welcome here, and we don't want you to talk about your fights within Jubilee, your division within Jubilee. Indeed, it was just below the standards of a national institution. And by the way, Linda, I want to say this for the benefit of many Kenyans who are listening, what I'm saying. I am a very, very, very proud leader. In fact, in my political career, I'm very proud that God gave me the ability to summon the strength to speak out my heart for what it was in my heart and what really was in the heart of millions of Kenyans about the partisanship that was witnessed in Bomas for a document that unfortunately, an unfortunate action for a document that is a very good document.
So this is the thing. You are very clear. You're saying a day before, I mean, the day that the report was released, you actually voiced your support for the document. So then it beats me on why someone would want to lock people out who are perceived to not support the document, because a day before, there's a whole team of you that came out and said, we support this particular document. But then this is, brings me to the next question. This was a document that was being unveiled that was initially supposed to bring Kenya together. This is a document that was supposed to make sure we look at inclusion for every single person in the country. At the moment that you're being heckled, how did that make you feel when it comes to the issue of inclusion, feeling that you're part of this process?
Linda, first of all, I think even before I spoke as Murkomen, as Majority Leader of the Senate, I was already feeling like the conversation there did not represent the wider communities across the country. If you look at the representation that was called, if it was parliament or it was citizenry, it wasn't really a representation of across the country. But when I stood there and people are heckling me, I just came to the conclusion that this is exactly what we have been. And our bad manners, our hypocrisy, pontification, people who are pontificating before us, and yet in their hearts they are planning evil. You know, I suppose many people thought that when this report comes out, they had created a certain mentality that some people will come and oppose it. And let me tell you, Linda, I am also very proud that when the process of BBI was going on, that I gave very serious views. And I'm very, very proud of many of the parliamentarians who gave their positions on various issues that were being conversed in the country, including the process. And I'm very proud of the words of people like Musalia Mudavadi, who came out there and said that although the process was not right, the product is good and we must start a conversation. And for me, this is really what it's all about, that as a country, we must be able to, when we say we want to have a conversation that takes the country forward, we must accept, not trying to categorize and creating silos that these people belong to this group, these people. In fact, most of us are very proud. The document reflects over 70% of the things we've been saying, meaning, therefore, that our conversation publicly in criticism of the process and the work that was being done by BBI found its way into the report itself. And that's why when the product comes out, the people who thought that they have control of it realized that this document, it reflects the wider views that most of us have been voicing. And for that reason, I stood there and I told myself, Kipchumba, this is that moment that you must stand for the truth. This is that moment that you must stand for the bullying. We must not allow political bullying. And really, it's unfortunate that the Office of the President, the PS, the Minister of the Interior, who are given the responsibility to mobilize people to bring to that podium, did not find it wise to get people who have certain level of decorum to listen to different views. Because if we are going to be heckling each other in just a hole that has the president, the former prime minister, and the deputy president sitting there, how much worse will it be if we go to the next elections and we are campaigning vigorously and competitively for seats that to lead this country? So I want to tell my colleagues, please, let's tone down the attacks, the heckling, and I thought initially the people who are heckling are people who are not members of parliament. I've realized the whole Kieleweke team were heckling me, and women for that matter. The same women who are saying we must avoid violence and bullying and attacking women. We want to create more opportunities for our women, of minority groups, and everybody for their voice to be heard. I believe in a nation that gives voice to every person.
Senator, when you look at how you're handled at the Bomas of Kenya and listening into President Uhuru Kenyatta today, he said, let each and every person read. And let's depoliticize this thing. Let's move it away from politicians. And I remember there's a speaker there who said the biggest problem that we have in Kenya is the politician and what they say to the people. So from your sentiment saying when you went in, you thought it was the document that would embrace everyone else until that heckling bit happened. So do you think from where you sit that perhaps there's goodwill to have an honest, open conversation about this document, like Deputy President William Ruto was saying, that also accommodates dissenting voices?
That is the problem. It appears to me now the product is good, the document is fantastic, and by the way, Linda, I'm not just discussing. If you ask me now about every chapter of that document, I know it because I spent time last night to read up to 4 a.m. in the morning and completed the 156 pages of the document. There are certain areas that I will want to give my views going forward or I want to improve. There are certain areas I really applaud and I wish we can quickly be implementing because they don't need legislation. And therefore, I was expecting that this was a ceremony to start up what is called a new Kenya. But, in the middle of the program, in the beginning of the program and the structure of that program, there is no new Kenya there. So question I ask myself, for those who still wanted to play politics, and now they have realized that they did not get us or get Kenyans to divided, what next are they going to pursue to ensure that Kenyans get divided? Number two, I'm asking myself, in this kind of environment where people are speaking in this manner, are these people ready to concede in a free and fair elections? Or this is just a charade that we will go through and then come back to this place? And by the way, I want to disabuse the public who have been saying this is the most comprehensive process that captures views of Kenya. This is not the most comprehensive process. BBI is not. I worked for the Yashpal Gai Commission. That is the one commission that did the most comprehensive work on the issues of Kenya. When their document was almost completed, the president disbanded parliament and we went for elections 2002. Thereafter, that document was mutilated. It was never implemented in the manner it was. We came to TJRC after Krigler Commission. All the process we went through after a Waki Commission, we established a TJRC thereafter. The TJRC report is gathering dust, and many of the persons and victims of historical injustice are still asking for help. The question we should ask ourselves in Kenya, if the behavior that I saw in Bomas is the way to go, is there really genuine political goodwill for us to take this document, convert it to processes and programs that will change the lives of Kenya? That is the question we should ask ourselves. When I listen to the president today, the former prime minister, the deputy president, and all of us who are leaders, ask myself one thing. Linda. What was new in all that we were saying, including what I was saying, including what the president was saying, former prime minister, deputy president? We have been in office as Jubilee for 7 years. What is that stopped us from doing some of those things? Things to do with making sure that devolution work. Things to do with employment must be fair across the country. Things to do with you must be able to treat development to every part of the country. If we are admitting today that those are things we've not been able to do, the question we should be asking ourselves, if the leaders converge in a forum like we had today and start telling Kenyans the things we should be doing, then who will do it? Because what should be the position for all of us? Because we've already been given position of responsibility and power, we should be coming to update Kenyans that we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to do this year 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of continuing this level of we want to continue to talk without really bringing back to Kenyans that this is what we've been doing and this is where we are and this is where we are going.
Okay. Senator, you said you spent the better part of last evening looking at that particular report. So from where you sit, is there anything substantially new in the recommendations that are in that document? And you said it is not as comprehensive as it should be. What are the issues or what are the areas that you think this report left out?
No, for me, it's not about the report leaving, that the report leaves out 1, 2, 3. For example, the report should have emphasized the need for TJRC report to be implemented. The question is, how is this report going to be different if there are other reports that were more comprehensive than this one, which are still gathering dust? That is the conversation we should have going forward. Number two is that this report addresses the bad manners of Kenyans. The things that we do for ourselves, the self-aggrandizement, the inability for us to fight corruption, the inability for us to treat everybody fairly, the government continuing to exclude people in terms of employment, things that are actually, we should be asking the government of the day, which government I serve with in parliament, we should be asking them, how far are you in implementing these things? Not again rewriting those things and making Kenyans feel as though this is a new thing. They are not new. Most of the things that we are talking about, diversity of this country, it can be sorted by just public appointments in this country. It can be sorted by us making sure that if a development is in every county of the country, everybody feels safe. We can be sorted by ensuring that devolution gets enough money. In the Senate, we've been fighting for more money to go to the counties. Now we are lying to Kenyans that we'll take the money to 50%. When 3 months ago, we were unable to give them 316 billion. We were adamant that we are not going to give them that money. We still have parastatal report that is gathering dust that actually says we must close more than half of the parastatals and remove those ones which are performing functions that are for counties. Again, we've come to talk to ourselves that we need to do it. Why do we have to come and say again we need to do it when we had the opportunity and there is a place to do it, to implement those things? So my take is that politicians and persons who are in office should actually just implement the law as it is. The Constitution is sufficient as it is for us to sort out all the problems that we have. But the problem is that our inability to deal with this, because we have been unable to deal with these things, we are subjecting again Kenyans to a process of telling them we want to look for problems that are affecting you, when we actually know what are those problems, and we should be able to be sorting those problems.
So in not so many words, you're basically saying this entire process is unnecessary.
To me, all this process is unnecessary, to the extent that it is regurgitating what already is existing in public domain. What is more necessary is to ask ourselves, how is, for example, Linda, if I ask you, how is that BBI document going to stop the next president in 2022, the number 2, from causing havoc in the country? You want to tell me the leader of opposition position is going to stop him? It will not, because in 2007, the leader of opposition was in the Constitution. But the presidential candidate who lost the election in 2007 caused havoc in the country. You cannot tell me also that there is any creation of position that you can meaningfully say it will sort out the feeling of politicians that they must be in power by all means. It means, therefore, it's a personal choice of those who are running for office to live by the Constitution itself and to ensure that when they lose elections, they are willing to concede defeat.
Okay. So finally, before I let you go, let me read some tweet by Professor James Olekiapi. He says, yes, let us talk and do so honestly. I have read the report and I don't see what justified 15 months expenditure of taxpayer funds, then another expert team to tell us what we already know. Honesty is just honesty. It is nobody's servant. So initially, there was a little bit of resistance to the BBI report. You now, from your sentiments and indeed your tweets on social media, this is a report that you now fully support?
Yes, Linda, as I told you, I fully support the report as it is.
Okay.
If there are places that we need to improve, it is basically to improve that already which has been done. The thematic areas are capturing the things that we need to deal with. The issues of politics and big boys and big girls getting jobs for themselves, I'm very happy that the BBI report and, you know, what I'm looking for the right word, basically did not make that so prominent. They didn't make it so prominent. It wasn't about, let's create another executive prime minister who is competing with another executive president, with deputies and so forth and so forth. I am happy that the report details about unemployment, poverty, insecurity in the country, diversity. Those are the things that we should give more focus and quickly go and implement. I am actually agreeing with Professor Olekiapi to the extent that we should not tell Kenyans again, now, therefore, we are done with the BBI committee. We are going to form another committee, and then after that, a task force, and after that, a seminar and a workshop. And you know, every time you're spending money, if you ask the delegates that were in Bomas, were each paid 5,000 shillings. That amounts to about 25 million shillings. And now there are many other expenditure where they were sleeping, when they ate, and so forth. If we continue this thing of conference, workshop, conference, workshop, you know, and task force, we are not going to take the country forward. I am of the opinion
I need to wrap
that
up.
pick the recommendations, take it to the institutions that are supposed to implement, and let them implement the things that need to be implemented.
I hear you. Kipchumba Murkomen, Leader of Majority in the Senate, thank you for speaking to us on the big story, on the unveiling of that report of the bombers of Kenya, the heckling that you went through, and your thoughts on the particular report. So the report is detailed, about over 100 pages, and it requires a lot of people to sit down and just read and have a conversation about it. And President Uhuru Kenyatta said, sit down, read it before you start having a conversation about it, and we will break it down for you as the days go by. Allow me to take our first break here on The Big Story. We'll be back.